G'day, I'm Andrew Marshall with the Northern Australia Climate Program at the University of Southern Queensland, and this is a short summary of the Bureau of Meteorology's climate outlook for the northern half of Western Australia for the weeks and months ahead, issued on the 23rd of October 2025. So we'll take a look at these rainfall outlooks to begin with, starting with the outlook scenarios, and these are the rainfall totals that have a 75% chance of occurring for your region. So looking ahead to the 3 months from November to January as we move into the wet season for Northern Australia, and we're seeing a 75% chance of around 25 to 50 millimetres for eastern parts of the Gascoyne, around 50 millimetres or more for parts of the Pilbara, between 100 and 200 millimetres for southern parts of the Kimberley, and around 400 millimetres or more for northern Kimberley regions. And you can use this magnifying glass feature here to drill deeper into the forecast, just specify your location of interest to break the forecast down into the chance of different rainfall amounts occurring. And this gives you an idea of how conditions are likely to be compared to the historical median. So now taking a look at the Bureau's northern rainfall totals since the 1st of September, and these small pockets of green here indicate where more than 50 millimetres of rain has fallen, and this is about the amount of rainfall required to stimulate plant growth. So now let's look at the temperatures, and the differences from average for maximum temperature here show warmer conditions of around 1 to 2 degrees above average for much of Western Australia for the 2 weeks from the 28th of October to the 10th of November. And here the average is calculated over the 1981 to 2018 period for this time of year. And for minimum temperature, most regions are also expecting warmer than average conditions for that 2-week period. Okay, now looking at the chance of extremes map for the 3 months from November to January, we're seeing an elevated chance of unusually warm days and nights across most of the state. And by unusually warm, we mean the highest 20% of historical temperature records for this time of year based on that 1981 to 2018 period. Now, these long-range forecasts for rainfall and temperature do provide the best local guidance for climate, so that is our focus here. Now, these forecasts consider all ocean and atmosphere conditions that affect seasonal weather and climate. But if you're interested, like me, in some of the climate indicators that can influence the forecasts, we will have a quick look at these now. And the El Niño Southern Oscillation remains neutral, while there are signs of possible La Niña development in the ocean and atmosphere. They are not strong enough and have not yet been sustained for long enough to meet Bureau criteria for an active event. A negative phase of the Indian Ocean Dipole, or the IOD, is now underway, and the Bureau's model predicts the negative IOD event to continue throughout spring with a return to neutral in early summer. And this is consistent with most international models and the typical IOD life cycle. Now, the Madden-Julian Oscillation, or the MJO, has been strong and active over the Indian Ocean in the last week, but it's forecast to weaken over the maritime continent to the north of Australia in the next few days. And the Southern Annular Mode, or the SAM, is forecast to dip briefly into negative values in the next few days before returning to neutral conditions. Sea surface temperature outlook is also likely to be influencing the forecast for Australia, and this shows warmer than average waters around most of Australia persisting for the November to January period, particularly to the southeast. And sea surface temperatures in the Australian region have been the warmest, or the second warmest on record, for each month since July last year. Now, turning to the pasture growth outlook from Long Paddock for the 3 months from October to December, we're expecting to see pasture growth returning to northern, central and eastern parts of the country in response to the expected rainfall in the months ahead. And finally, we'll look at the Cattle Comfort Index prototype forecast at nacp.org.au. Index values between 30 and 35 degrees represent moderate stress to cattle. Values between 35 and 40 degrees represent severe stress, and values above 40 degrees are considered extreme. And we are expecting varying heat stress conditions over Northern Australia, with some extreme conditions to be aware of in the days ahead. So as always, for more information and updates, please visit the Bureau's climate pages at bom.gov.au/climate. If you have any questions about the recent conditions or the use of weather and climate forecasts, of course, please reach out to your local climate mate. And you can read more about the Northern Australia Climate Program at nacp.org.au. See you next time.